Dick Goddard with weather. Now, Tim Taylor, Robin Swoboda, Casey Coleman on sports, and Dick Goddard with weather. This is News Center 8.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. Here's what's happening from New England to Georgia. The East Coast is battling a major storm, and more is on the way. Our own Martin Savage, unable to fly out of New York today, took the opportunity to report on the weather.
By midday in Manhattan, the official term was madhouse. Snow, as much as 4 to 8 inches predicted, was bringing the city that never sleeps to the verge of hoping it was all just some weatherman's nightmare. Traffic on the city streets slipped, slided, and crawled up snowy 57th. This is what it looks like outside the studios of CBS in New York City. We'd like to take you someplace else that looks more like New York City. The only problem is you can't get there. In fact, we can't even leave New York City. Both Kennedy and LaGuardia airports gave up and closed by 1 p.m. For New Yorkers themselves, the storm has added insult to injury, the flakes falling on the 4th day of a railroad strike, as many find driving no longer a chore, but nearly impossible. In the nation's capital, the same storm is dumping up to 8 inches. The pile of white is paralyzing Washington and forcing a partial government shutdown. National Airport has been open, closed, and open several times, as visibility has been severely limited. Because the storm came up the coast, not even the South has been saved. In some parts of Dixie, snow was falling earlier today at the rate of 1 inch an hour. In some areas, ice is the greater problem, glazing roads and knocking out power. Later this evening, the snow is expected to taper off, but gale winds along the coast may only make a bad situation worse. Martin Savage, News Center 8, New York City. Martin.
And we'll have more from Marty later in the newscast.
Today it was the East Coast. Tomorrow another storm will hit us here on the North Coast.
Well, Dick, what do we face?
It is another storm, believe it or not. We'll get to that real quick here. The storm off the East Coast has buried the east. 10 inches of snow now over parts of the Big Apple. They've got a snow meringue on the Big Apple tonight. Here's the Arctic front near Toledo, low pressure area there. Show you how cold it has been. Near the center of the mountain of Canadian and Arctic air coming in, temperatures today have been running 30 below zero. We will see here the isobars filling in, and this front is going to come in overnight. We could see a coating of snow up to an inch or so by around midnight, but it will be there after that the Arctic air really begins to move in. Here you see the snow pattern with that storm center off the coast, and here you see basically the snow that is coming in behind it, some of the temperatures that are current up here to the northwest. I would imagine, my guesstimate is anywhere by sunrise or mid-morning, 2 to 4 inches within snow belts that ring Cleveland to the east and south. You could have 4 to 8 inches. Blowing and drifting will be a huge problem tomorrow. Temperatures won't go much above 10 above. Wind chills will be running 20 to 40 below, and we'll have much more on this, of course, later.
All right, now, as Dick just told us, this winter storm is riding in on a chilly blast of cold air. Medical reporter Robin Phillips has some tips for us now on how to dress for these Arctic winds and some information you need to know before shoveling snow tonight.
You know, Tim, in my hometown, Chicago, they called Old Man Winter the Hawk because of the way the snow and the wind swooped down. With the wind chill dipping down to a frosty, bone-chilling 20 below tonight, it's very important you dress to protect yourself from the elements. Since we lose most of our body heat through our heads, it's critical to wear a hat in this weather in order for the rest of your body to feel warm. There comes a point where it's too cold to look fashionable. Pick a warm coat and layer thermal underwear, sweaters, and wool pants underneath. Don't forget your gloves. Flesh exposed to these wind chill factors will be frostbitten before you can blink an eye. And wear warm boots with plenty of socks inside, and don't stay out in the cold if your feet do become soaked. Okay, now you're dressed properly and you're headed outside to shovel the snow off your sidewalk or driveway. Well, if you don't take it easy and shovel correctly, you could end up with shoveler's disease, a type of tendinitis. Pick a shovel with a handle long enough so you don't have to bend over. Scoop up small shovelfuls and don't turn your wrist over as you dump the snow. If the pain in your wrist really hurts or there's a lot of swelling, you can take an anti-inflammatory medication like ibuprofen or even an aspirin. If you have heart disease or are really out of shape, you might want to consider trading in your shovel for a snow blower. Every year there are heart attack deaths related to snow shoveling. So why don't you offer to shovel the snow for an elderly neighbor, or even pay the kids down the block to do the shoveling for you. Would you know how to give CPR if someone suddenly keeled over, had a heart attack, or stopped breathing? You can learn what to do by watching TV8's CPR Telethon this weekend. Now, we're teaming up with the Red Cross to offer CPR training courses so everyone in Cleveland can learn how to push for life. Every second counts when someone's heart stops beating or suddenly can't breathe. Without blood and air, your brain suffocates and death can occur in just minutes. Learning CPR is so simple, and it can save lives while you wait for medical personnel to arrive. So why don't you join us this Saturday evening at 8 and learn how to push for life. We're going to get everybody in this town to learn it.
That's for sure. And since we're all going to be snowed in Saturday night, I think that's a perfect program to watch. 8 o'clock.
3,000 of you signed up last year. Let's get 4 this year.
Okay.
Thank you, Robin. Well, separate negotiations continue between the City of Cleveland and 23 unions representing about 5,500 city workers. Meanwhile, one of those unions, the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, has set a February 2nd strike deadline. That union represents over 900 employees, including accountants, clerks, and sewer workers. No other union is set to strike, but News Center 8's Wayne Dawson says they all want more than the city is willing to give.
In a nutshell, the workers want more money and some better working conditions. Paul Wells is the president of Local 1099, one of the largest of the city's 23 labor unions. It represents nearly 1,000 garbage collectors, street workers, and other laborers. People like Clarence Jones, who has worked for the city for over 25 years.
I figure out at 25 years, I should be making at least $10, you know.
But he's not. Jones is making $9.23 an hour, the top wage paid to a city laborer. By comparison, waste collectors and street workers in several suburbs make more. Though Cleveland is the county's largest municipality, it ranks only 7th in hourly wage.
It creates a problem where the membership is concerned, and it's just the wrong thing now. They should be making more money.
The city has offered the laborers what amounts to a 1.5% and a 2.25% hike over the next 2 years, but the union wants a 4% and a 6% increase. Members of Local 1099, the street workers, waste collectors, and other laborers are scheduled to meet here on Thursday. But between now and then, city negotiators are expected to meet with union leaders, and insiders say the city is prepared to sweeten their offer. And if that happens,
the union negotiators from this union and other unions will probably end up reaching a fair agreement with the city of Cleveland.
Wayne Dawson, News Center 8, Cleveland.
But what about police and fire protection? If the city is hit with a work stoppage, what will police and firefighters do? News Center 8 City Hall reporter Bob Sermonera says they really have no choice in the matter.
You will not hear Jim Andrews or Local 93 saying that we're going to strike.
For 10 years, Cleveland firefighters have had a binding arbitration clause in their contract with the city. When an impasse is reached in bargaining talks, either side can ask for an impartial third party to step in to settle the dispute. Since then, 5 separate contracts have been negotiated, and only once was an arbiter used.
And to everybody's credit, I believe that the contractual language that we have and the principles in the state law are very effective in driving parties to resolve issues.
The state's collective bargaining law was passed 3 years ago and covers all public employees in Ohio. Cleveland police, EMS technicians, public health nurses, civilian dispatchers, and House of Corrections officers may not strike either. And even though the city has received a strike deadline from some non-uniformed workers, city bargainers are not discouraged.
We will continue to meet with the mediator and negotiate even after the contract may expire, because we feel that it's in our best interest to reach a negotiated settlement with each of our unions.
Clevelanders don't have to worry too much about public safety workers going on strike. They realize any work stoppage would create a negative image, and they've all taken an oath to protect the public at all costs. Bob Sermonera, News Center 8, Cleveland.
Still ahead on News Center 8, USX Steelworkers learned the details of their new contract today. Mike Cragen will report.
And some Portage County residents are making progress in their efforts to close a toxic waste processing plant. We'll have a fact finder report.